Well, it's time to take a look at the only Star Wars prequel, other than Rogue One, that people actually like. Hello everyone, and today I'm taking a look at Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now I'm just going to say this right now, I absolutely adore Revenge of the Sith. In fact, as I'm rewatching these movies, this is probably my second favorite Star Wars movie, behind a certain movie from the original trilogy that we'll get to very soon, but for right now, this is probably my second favorite Star Wars movie. I have always adored Revenge of the Sith, even as a child, and now as a teenager, I still love this movie. In fact, there's only like two flaws I have with the movie, but we'll get to them later. But for right now, let's talk about the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is, after Chancellor Palpatine gets kidnapped by General Grievous, it was Anakin and Obi-Wan in the safe the Chancellor while killing Count Dooku. Now, and here's a fun fact for you all about Count Dooku's death. In the original version of this movie, Count Dooku was supposed to beg for his life until Christopher Lee said, hey, George, that's not in line with Dooku's character, and they decided, okay, we'll scrap that idea entirely of Dooku being like, please, Anakin, please don't kill me. And, yeah. And after that rescue mission, we see Anakin's slow turn to the dark side, as we also see the fall of the Jedi Council, but the age of the Empire in the original trilogy. And yeah, this movie's ultimately about Anakin's turn to the dark side into Darth Vader, and it's really well done in my opinion. Let's talk about my two problems with the movie. Well, I do think the romance between Anakin and Padme has improved in this movie. There's only one scene where the dialogue is not good in my opinion. That being the whole, you look so beautiful, and Padme says, because I'm in love. Okay. That's kind of confusing in my opinion, but still. And of course, the infamous no scene. And here's why. Because at the time of this movie's release, this was intended to be the last Star Wars movie put to screen. And they were going to have James Earl Jones come back one last time as Darth Vader, and they were going to have him say, no, like that. Really, George? Really, that was stupid. But even then, it's just one scene, and it's kind of funny to make fun of. But other than that, I absolutely adore Revenge of the Sith. Now, let me talk about this part first and why I love this movie. The darker tone. Now, you see, unlike movies like, say, Batman vs. Superman, the darker tone works with this movie as we see the death of the Republic and the death of the Jedi and the birth of the Empire. There. The best moments of this movie being dark is, of course, in the Order 66 moment. Every time I watch this scene, it's hard for me to watch it a little bit. Seeing how, even though we already know these Jedi Knights were going to get killed off, as someone who's like me, who has seen the Clone Wars cartoon, and knows some of these Jedi in the show, like Plo Koon getting killed, it's kind of sad for me. And the music and the way it's edited is so well done, and it feels tragic. Especially that part where we see Yoda holding his chest, dropping the cane, and trembling to the ground in fear and sadness. It's just a beautiful, well done scene. And we even have two other moments where I think the dark tone really works. That being where Anakin murders the Trade Federation and he murders the younglings. Those scenes were well done, and it's really emotional in my opinion, and very well done. And the dark tone doesn't bother me because of how well done it is, unlike, say, Batman vs. Superman. Another thing I love about this movie is the acting. I think a lot of the actors do a great job in this movie. I think Hayden Christensen does a good job. I don't think he was that bad. There are a lot of moments where I feel really bad for him, especially in the scene where after he kills off the, Viceroy Gunray, there's a moment where he's like looking into the lava of Mustafar, and you see him having a tear in his eyes, but he realizes that there's no turning back after what he did. And also, there's a great moment with him and Padme, where both of them are on these two different angles, and they're both looking at each other. and you feel bad for what's about to happen. Because after that scene, he goes to see what's up between Mace Windu and Sidious, and he makes his ultimate choice and joins the dark side. And people say his turn to the dark side was forced. In Attack of the Clones and this movie, almost everyone treats him like dirt, except for Palpatine and Obi-Wan. But still, in Attack of the Clones, almost everyone talked to him like a child, and the same thing goes for this movie. And he wants to save his wife from dying, so yeah. And also, Ewan McGregor does a great job as always, and you really feel bad for his character in this movie, especially during the fight where he says, "I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you," and it makes sense why he says that, because he feels responsible for Anakin's turn to the dark side. If he could have just been more attention to Anakin, and then maybe Anakin would not have turned to the dark side. In fact, if Qui-Gon Jinn was still alive, maybe Anakin would not have also turned. And you really feel bad for Obi-Wan, especially when at the end of the fight he says, "You are my brother, Anakin. I loved you," and you really see their bond in this movie in the first act of the film. And also, the best, and probably the one who steals the show, in my opinion, is Ian McDiarmid. He is just phenomenal. In fact, this is, in my opinion, his best performance as the Emperor. I love him in Return of the Jedi, but I think this movie is where he steals the show as Emperor. You see him slowly pulling the strings, and he knows when is the right time to pull these strings for Anakin. Especially during the Opera House scene where he talks about the Sith legend known as Darth Plagueis the Wise, and how he could save others from death, but not himself. And he is just so good. He is such a ham, but he is so delightful to watch. Especially when he does his all unlimited power! And his fight with Yoda is really fun in my opinion. Not as good as the one between Anakin and Obi-Wan, but still great. And also, the action and special effects are great in my opinion. I really like the special effects, and the action scenes are outstanding. While yes, Grievous isn't as awesome as he was in the Clone Wars cartoons, he was still pretty cool in this movie, and his fight scene between him and Obi-Wan was cool, even though it ends in an uncivilized manner, but still. And of course, the best lightsaber duel of all time, Anakin versus Obi-Wan. This fight scene is so fast-paced, so well done, and so well choreographed, it's outstanding. And it feels intense in this scene, especially when they are on basically a little bit above a molten lava, and both of them can fall in any second. And it makes me feel like, oh man, who's gonna fall in the lava first? But it ultimately ends when Obi-Wan gets the high ground, and kind of proves the problem with the Sith. They overestimate their abilities as warriors, and because of that, Anakin gets chopped into halves, little pieces. And yeah, all the action scenes are great, and the special effects, especially when the whole Wookiees are cool, and I even like how Chewie and Yoda meet. In fact, imagine what would happen if Chewie went to Dagobah with Luke in Empire Strikes Back. It would be kind of cool to see that. And before I end off this review, there are some things I want to talk about with the direction of the movie. I think a lot of the direction decisions are great in my opinion. Some include how when Anakin goes to meet Master Yoda, talking about his visions of what's going to happen to Padme, you see Anakin covered in both the light and the dark, showing how he's being like, oh, is he going to turn to the light side or the dark side? And I even like some of the choices where in Anakin and Obi-Wan's last meeting before they fight each other on Mustafar, you see Obi-Wan in the light while Anakin is in the dark, which is pretty cool in my opinion. And finally, the ending where after Obi-Wan decides to give Luke to Uncle Owen and Aunt Maru, you see how when they're holding baby Luke, you see them looking off into the twin suns with the same music that accompanied Luke when he stared off into the two suns in A New Hope, which is pretty cool. I ultimately don't see why people don't like this movie. I mean, if you don't like this movie, that's fine, but I personally adore Revenge of the Sith, and I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10 for an S rank. I love this movie, and I will continue to love it to this day, as it stands as, in my opinion, so far my second favorite Star Wars movie behind a certain movie we'll get to later on. But anyway, we got the prequel trilogy finished. Join me tomorrow as we take a look at the two anthology movies, known as the A Star Wars Story movies, as we're going to take a look at Solo, a Star Wars movie. So, see you all later, and bye, and Revenge of the Sith gives a 10 out of 10 for an S rank. I hope you like this video, guys, and I hope you enjoy the video, and see you all tomorrow. Bye.